Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. I'm your host, Ellen Rathbone, life coach and sensuality consultant. Today, I want to talk about the multi-orgasmic male. Every single male on this planet has the ability to have multiple orgasms. And I just want to make it clear what's the difference between multiple orgasms and, say, a singular orgasm held over time is the multiple orgasm happens in sequence, like one after another, where a singular orgasm happens one time. For a male, it is always followed with ejaculation. And that's another point I'd like to make about the male orgasm. A lot of people think that ejaculation is the same thing as orgasm, and it's not. Okay, ejaculation actually happens a nanosecond after the contractile phase of the explosion, which then pushes the ejaculation out of the body. But they're not the same thing. Everybody just thinks they're the same thing because they happen so close to each other. But what I want to make clear is that every single one of us is a person of vibration, and we all have an electrical energy running through our body. This electrical energy is called the bioelectrical energy. And in some cultures, they call it chi. In Indian, they call it prana. Everybody has a different name for it all over the world, but it most definitely is this wonderful energy that travels through well-defined circuits called meridians, made up of two channels, the back and the front channels. Now, the back channel begins at the perineum and then runs up the back along the spine, from the tailbone up the spine, and then into the neck, into the crown of the head, down the forehead, and ends right here where there's an indent. That's the back channel. The front channel runs from the tip of your tongue to your throat, along the meridian down to the pubis and then to the perineum. You may have felt this energy yourself, this chi. Lots of people have felt it. If you've had acupuncture done, you've most definitely felt it. But if you haven't had that experience, some of the most common experiences of this energy are a sudden kind of warmth, tingling, prickly feeling like a static electricity, pulsating certain areas of your body, a humming, bubbling, and a buzzing. Some people feel the energy as a slow kind of a wave. Others feel it as a rush. When this energy is translated into sexual energy, it's called Jing Qi. And it's the most obvious bioelectric energy. When it's called Jing Qi, we call it getting horny. Now, for men, getting horny is 4 phases of the penis that arouse. And the first phase is called firmness. It's also known as lengthening. The second phase is swelling. The third phase is hardness. And the fourth is heat. So the penis most definitely goes through these phases. And this is important to know because it is in this time that the body and the person have to be aware of what is going on so that they can control their reaction. If you just let it get away from you, then you're not going to be able to have a multi-orgasm. And the other thing about the multi-orgasm is there's no ejaculation with multi-orgasm because, again, 2 very separate things. And if you do allow an ejaculation, I mean, good for you, you've had an orgasm, but you're going to be tired afterwards. You want to go to sleep afterwards. Where if you have a multi-orgasm and you do not allow that ejaculate to leave your body, you are actually rejuvenated. You feel like you have more energy. Your whole body is alive with this electrical energy that you have just created through your Jing Qi. Now, when ejaculation is going to occur, there are two parts to it. The first part is the contractile phase. That's the important part because that's where the prostate contracts and empties semen into the urethra. The second phase is the expulsion phase, where the semen is propelled down the urethra and out the penis. The contractile phase is the phase where it's the fork in the road. This is where you're either going to have an ejaculation or you're going to control for the multiple orgasms. All right. This is where you have to pause if you want to keep yourself from going to the point of no return. I mean, there's an action, there's a thrusting, there's a moving, there's a circular hip action that's going on, which is all stimulating the penis to go to what its habit is. But this, if you want to really learn how to do this, that contractile phase is where you have to actually decrease the stimulation momentarily long enough to gain control of your arousal. All right, because if you don't gain control, then you're just going to go down the road you always go. And I don't mean to criticize orgasm. I think all orgasm is good. But if you can have multiple orgasms and not be depleted afterwards, maybe that's an experience that you'd like to try. Now, one of the things that you can do to prevent the expulsion of the ejaculation from happening is when you have paused momentarily, you can squeeze your PC muscle around that fluttering prostate, which will help in giving you control. Your level of excitement will decrease slightly in preparation for the genital orgasm, but with multiple orgasms, your arousal is like a wave that rises to a peak, and then instead of cresting over and crashing, it's swept up by a larger wave and onto an even higher peak. It is incredible what the human body can do if we know about it, if we discipline it, if we are in touch with it and respect its many processes. This is not something that is taught anywhere. No one teaches anybody how to have, prevent premature ejaculation or how to have a multiple orgasm. That's just not taught in this country anyway. But control is the key. And Kegel exercises most definitely will help you get a grip for better control. Instead of being drained, you're rejuvenated. And even every orgasm benefits when you recirculate that sexual energy from the front channel to the back channel and back and forth right through that prostate. Now, you might wonder what happens to the sperm if it's not ejaculated. It is actually absorbed back into the body. And there's no harmful effects of this. There's studies done in countries where the men have been doing this for quite a long time, and there's no negative side effects about this at all. Of course, even though you're not ejaculating, there is seminal fluid that will come out the top of the penis. It's very, very clear, and it has a lot of very powerful sperm in it. So even though you're not ejaculating, if you are preventing pregnancy, you're definitely going to have to use a condom or some other kind of protection, because those sperm in that seminal fluid are some of the most determined, powerful sperm that your body can produce. Now, I didn't make all of this stuff up. I've been reading about it from the Multi-Orgasmic Male, and it's by Mantak Chia and Douglas Abrams. This book has been around for a long time, and if you would really like to learn how to harness this incredible power inside the body, it is an excellent read, and it has all the instructions on what to do to learn how to do this properly. Women have been having multi-orgasms for quite a while because there was no stigma in their minds to having them. Not all women have multiple orgasms, just like not all men have multiple orgasms. But I'd like to see that number increase. I'd like to see more and more people learning about the potential of pleasure that their body has and tapping into it, not only for the pleasure of it, but for all the phenomenal health benefits that come when you allow your sexual energy to permeate throughout your entire body and literally light you up. You are all capable of it. Whether or not you are ever going to experience it is a personal choice, and I think definitely something worth pursuing, understanding, and mastering. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. Join me next week for another scintillating conversation on the pleasures of sexual pleasure, because it is your right. It is natural. It is good for you. It is something that if you know about it and harness it, will bring you not only joy, but good health for many, many years to come. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next week. And namaste, everybody. Take care.